so let's move on to 6.8, elaborate. What I want you guys to understand about this is really the seeing the vertical asymptotes and horizontal asymptotes from the transformation function. So what I do want to adjust with this one is usually this is going to be A right here. So we'll say that's A, so change that to A, and then there will be a B in front of this X. So we have our A, our B, our C, and our D. And so these are the attributes of how a transformation will look when it's written in a rational form, okay? And so what we want to look at right here is for each equation, I want to be able to identify C and D in all of these. And so C is going to be right here underneath the denominator, or in the denominator next to our X, and D is going to be out here by itself. So if I look at this, I'll highlight both of those. So this is going to be C, and D is going to be out here. This is C and D. C should be under here somewhere, and there's D, C, and D, okay? So what I want to point out is, let's look at all the D values first. So there's nothing written out here. The D value is 0. You can see that we already filled in the columns here. Nothing written out here, the D value is 0. A +3 written out here, the D value is 3. A -4 here, the D value is -4. So those are the D values for 4 of these equations, okay? And then the C value, right, it shows us the C values over here. This is -1. Remember, the C value changes, so it becomes a +1. This is +2, C value changes to be -2. There is no C value written, so that C value is 0. And then this is -3, and it becomes +3, okay? And so this is what I want us to be able to do. If we can identify C and D, okay, which we should be able to do that now, then the vertical asymptote is just the C value in our equation, okay? And the horizontal asymptote is the D value in our equation. And so we write these as an equation. So the vertical asymptote are going to be all of these, but we have to attach X equals 1. This will form a line, which the vertical asymptote is. It's a line. Okay, so it's got to be X equals. So all vertical asymptotes will be X equals. So that equals X equals -2. This one is X equals 0. And the last one is X equals 3. For the horizontal asymptote, these are going to form a line that intersect the y-axis. So this all needs to be y equals. And then I just fill in the D values that we found earlier. D is 0. For the second one, 0. Third one is 3. Last one is -4. Okay? And then the domain and range kind of fall into place. Okay, all of these look like the first parent function we did just a while ago, so that means all the domains and all the ranges are going to be all real numbers, okay, with the exception of their asymptotes. So the domain is all reals with the exception of 1. Second equation, all reals with the exception of -2. Third one, all reals with the exception of 0. And the last one, all reals with the exception of 3. So this is how we show the exception. X does not equal those values. And then the range, same process. For the first one, y cannot equal 0. Y cannot equal 0 for the second one. Y cannot equal 3 for the third one. And y cannot equal -4 for the last one. And so those are my domain and ranges. So really, all I did was, if I can recognize C and D, I should know my vertical and horizontal asymptotes, and then therefore I should be able to complete my domain and range correctly. All right, so let's flip it over to the back side. All right, so if we're looking at these equations, the first thing I want to do is identify what values we have. So again, I'm thinking of this equation, A over bx minus c plus d. okay? And I'll go ahead and label all these. This is the A value, that's the B value, C value, and this is the D value. Okay, so I should be able to identify all of those. If I have an A value of 5, that tells me that this equation is transformed by a vertical stretch. For number 2, I have a 5 for the B. That tells me that I have a horizontal compression. For number 3, the 5 is the C value, so -5 tells me I go to the right 5. And then number 4, the D value is 5 now, so this tells me that I go up 5. Okay, and so that's just being able to identify the transformation 1. And now we're going to look at the VA and HA. So really quick, remember that the VA is the C value, the HA is the D value, okay, and the VA is always X, HA is always Y. Okay, so we can go ahead and make that little note for all of these. Okay. And then all I have to do is be able to identify the C and the D value. So for this first equation, there is no C value, so that's 0. There is no D value, so that is also 0. Okay, sorry, I'm going based off of this. No C, no D for that first one. Here, again, no C, no D, so these two are both 0. Down here, we have a C value of -5, so that becomes a +5. And then no D value, so that's 0. And then here, there is no C value, so that's 0, and the D value is 5, so this is 5. So those are all the VAs and HAs. Then we have to write the domain. So the domain, again, should be simple. All of these are all reals. So I go ahead and put all reals on all of them. And then they do have exceptions. What can it not be equal to? So for this first one, the X cannot be equal to 0, which is that. And the range, the Y cannot be equal to 0, which is the HA. Number 2, X cannot be equal to 0, Y cannot be equal to 0. For number 3, X cannot be equal to 5, which is my VA, and Y cannot be equal to 0, which is my HA. And then the fourth one, X cannot be equal to 0, and Y cannot be equal to 5, again, which is my HA.